Now, I was lifting heavy, I was eating clean, I was even doing my cardio, and I was tracking macros like a psychopath. And I still had that damn lower belly fat. Now, if you ever feel like your body is just not cooperating, like it's stuck in some fat storing mode, no matter what you do, well, yeah, I know because I have been there myself. And I'm going to show you why and what might be the reason you are not losing that fat that you want out of your system. And if you're stuck in the same cycle, then this is the video that you need because it's not about just burning your fat, it's about fixing the signals that your body has been screaming at you for years. You know what is the worst part? The worst part is when people kept telling me that, bro, just eat less because it's all about calories in versus calories out. But the thing is that I couldn't focus. I had zero energy. I was tired waking up and I was always feeling dull. And even though my friends looked at me and they said that, bro, you really look great, I didn't feel great. And that's when I realized one thing, that being shredded doesn't always mean being healthy. And the way most of us have also approached fat loss, well, it's broken. Now, I had a metabolic problem, a stress problem, a nervous system problem. I'm not saying that calorie deficit doesn't work. Well, it works until it doesn't. So you lose weight and then you hit a wall, and then what? You eat even less and then you starve yourself. Well, that is not health, that is metabolic destruction. And once I understood that and I cracked that code, well, everything for me just shifted. The fat loss isn't just physical, it's neurological, it's hormonal, it's stress. It's how safe your nervous system feels. And when it feels safe, that's when you lose your fat. Because even I've lived it. I did that calorie deficit. I tracked every almond that was there. I did the 1200 calorie diet. I did the 1800 calorie diet. I also did the intermittent fasting. And yes, I did lose fat, but there is a big but. But as I said, I also lost my energy. My recovery was really slow. And at one point, I even felt like, what am I even doing? Because I lost my will to live. But then later, I just got really obsessed and I discovered some actually researched backed approaches that didn't require me to become a gym rat or have to survive on those celery sticks or what the people in the gym tell you to have, that boiled food. Well, I didn't have to do any of that. And this is what I'm also going to help you with. And the first thing for that you need to understand is that calories in versus calories out is an incomplete concept. Now, I'm not saying that this method doesn't work, but there is a loophole that you need to understand. And the loophole shouldn't be ignored because it's also the key and the answer to having that flat stomach or the abs that you want. Because here's the truth, you are not a math problem. You are a biology lab with emotions, with hormones, with trauma, with digestion, with even ancestral memory. And if you're eating less and you're still not losing that fat, it has nothing to do with your willpower. It has nothing to do with your discipline. It's just your system screaming that, listen, whatever you're doing is not sustainable. And here is the calorie deficit lie that most fitness influencers will not really tell you. So, yes, calorie deficit is technically the mechanism, but it's like saying to be rich, you need to spend less than you earn. Well, cool, but if you're born in recession, then what? Or if your currency is getting devalued. Now, I want you to take this word currency and just replace it with a thyroid that is underfunctioning, or a gut that cannot absorb any nutrients, or a nervous system that is stuck in a fight or flight mode, or a body that is just trained to store fat because it thinks that you are in a famine zone. This is why one of your friend might just drop 5 kgs a month with just a slight diet change, and then there is you who eats clean, who works out daily, and still feels bloated, tired, and even stuck. Also, think about how many times, if you were ever stressed and you still went to the gym and you worked out, at that point of time, do you think that your body is going to worry about your muscles or to build that muscle and repair it? Or is it going to be in a fight or flight mode? Well, of course, it's going to be in the fight or flight mode. So, you can be in a calorie deficit and still not lose fat if your cortisol is high. Because when you are stressed, your body stores fat as protection. And your body doesn't care about your summer body, and if you want those washboard abs, it only cares about survival. So telling someone to just eat less without checking their lifestyle is like telling someone with a broken leg that why don't you just run it off? And one thing that you really need to understand is that your body is heavenly and your body adapts. And that is the problem. So here's what most calorie deficit influencers will again not tell you. that your body is smart, pretty much like a PhD level smart. It's not just normal smart, it's PhD level. So if you eat in a deficit for too long, your metabolism adapts, and this is called metabolic adaptation. So let's say, for example, you're eating around 1500 calories, and yes, you lose some weight, yay, but then it stops. So what do? You drop it to 1200 calories, and then you plateau again. Now your body thinks like, okay, 1200 calories is the new normal, so I'll slow everything down to match that. That means lesser energy, less fat loss, lesser joy of your life. This is why crash dieting works pretty much for a month, and then suddenly you're gaining weight while eating air and drinking water and licking cucumbers. What you really need to understand and fix is the missing piece, which is your nervous system. And here is a spicy take. A calorie deficit doesn't work if your nervous system doesn't feel safe. Let's say when your body is in a stress state, which is your sympathetic nervous system mode, digestion slows down, fat burning halts, and even your cravings shoot up. So even if you're tracking every almond that you're eating, or even you're doing your cardio or doing your strength training in your dreams, if you're wired, you're anxious, you're emotionally overwhelmed, you're stressed, your body is not going to burn that fat. It's going to hoard it. And even Ayurveda calls this the vata imbalance. Because too much of stress, erratic habits, no grounding foods, boom, the fat loss switch is going to be turned off. So the question is, what exactly works or what exactly controls fat loss? And I'm going to give you a hint, and it's not your MyFitnessPal or any of those apps that are there. Fat loss is regulated by hormones, period. Insulin, cortisol, leptin, ghrelin, thyroid hormones, these are the traffic cops that are going to decide whether the food that you eat is going to be used for energy or is it going to be stored as fat. And let me give you an example for you to understand. Let's say you're eating 1500 calories. Now, sounds like a deficit, pretty much, right? But you're sleeping for 5 hours, you're scrolling on Instagram at midnight, you're stressed about life, and if you're going to get married and have 3 children, and you're drinking 3 coffees a day, what you expect the result is going to be. Your cortisol is going to spike, you're going to have insulin resistance, your fat storage is going to be on a high. So you're not in a calorie deficit, you're in a survival trap. And that is where the problem is. And I'm going to tell you what my turning point was. Now, when I was at my lowest, I did have abs, but I was also anxious, I was moody, I was inflamed, and also disconnected from my own body. Even my hair was thinning, my digestion was messed up. That's when I stopped chasing calories and I started focusing on healing my systems. And here's what I did. First, I started eating warm and gut friendly food. So, no green smoothies or social media things that tell you that you need to have at 7 a.m. So, nothing of that. Second thing is, I aligned all my meals according to the circadian rhythm, which is that when the sun is out, that's the only time I eat. I stopped overtraining. So, I just switched to calisthenics and yoga. So, that's what majorly I stuck to. Number four is I started tracking my stress and not my steps. And number five is I started adding a few Ayurvedic principles like figuring out what my Agni balance is, try to eat a lot of seasonal food, and that's what I pretty much did. And here's a secret that I want you to know. Now, as I told you that your body burns fat only when it feels safe. And to feel safe, it needs a few things. Number one is stable blood sugar. So balance your meals, which is your carbs, your proteins, your fats, your micronutrients, your fiber, everything. Next is deep sleep. Your fat burning hormones comes alive only when you sleep at night. Next, and I know a lot of people like talking about this with their friends, is regular pooping. Now, you need to poop regularly no matter what the thing is. And I'm not sorry for this because if you're not pooping, you are not detoxing. The next is if you have chronic inflammation, that bloating, it's not fat, it's inflammation. So if you are not pooping, you are not sleeping, you are always wired, you're anxious, you're troubling your mind, or you're troubled always, it doesn't matter what your MyFitnessPal says or what any of those tracking apps will say. Your body is not going to burn that fat. And even Ayurveda says that you are not what you eat, you are what you digest. So if your gut is inflamed, even clean food turns toxic. So eating clean with an inflamed gut is like washing your clothes in dirty water. Yeah, you don't really want that. So here's something that you can do. You can be in a calorie deficit and still nourish your body. And here's my method, which I feel is pretty simple. Firstly is eat real seasonal food over any of those packaged, let's say healthy snacks or any of things or in any of the food that is in a package. Just go as organic or anything that nature provides you that doesn't have that nutritional label. Go for foods which don't have that. Try to have spices that boost your digestion, whether it's cumin, your ginger, your ajwain. Amazing. Try to have a lot of warm meals over those cold smoothies, especially in the morning. Try to not have dinner after 8 p.m. And as I said, focus on the circadian rhythm. Also, breath work and grounding. Do it daily, not just going in the gym and stressing yourself out with weights. Focus again on strength and not weights. Understand that the best fat burner isn't a pill or it isn't an app. It's your parasympathetic nervous system. You activate that and your fat loss becomes effortless. I'll say it again that you again are not a math equation or you're not a math problem. You are a story that's made of trauma, biology, rhythm, gut bugs, hormones, food memories that are passed down from your ancestors. So you are a mix of all these things. So treat yourself not like a math problem, which is just calories in and calories out. Understand that you need to fix your hormones first because your body is much more complex than that. And the moment you fix your hormones and you switch from your sympathetic to a parasympathetic nervous system, which is pretty much in a more relaxed state, you'll suddenly see how easy it is that your body starts burning the fat. And then you realize it's pretty effortless because you don't want to put your body in survival mode, you want to put it more in a relaxed state. And your body doesn't really understand anything on the inside. You give it the signal and it activates that system. And if you really like this video, well, I would love it if you would drop a comment. And until we meet again next, don't stress and be awesome. Russia that. And please do watch this video because I'm sure this will interest you as well.